Okay, so we just decided to focus on, for our category analysis project, decided to focus on the travel category. I'm Lisa. Do you want to say your name, guys?
James LaPrade.
Luca Martin.
And my name is Gabrielle Robinson.
Okay, so first of all, we divided the categories, travel into subcategories. And so from like all the categories that were on the data sheet that we were given, that travel accounts for 5.3% of the total spend among all categories. And the UNSPSC level 1 kind of subdivides into 3 different categories again under travel, which are travel, food, lodging, and entertainment services, transportation, storage, and mail services, and commercial and military private vehicles and their accessories and components. And as of right now, travel, food, lodging, and entertainment services take up the biggest part, with about 70.6% of total spend on travel, followed by transportation, storage, and mail services with 28.7%, and lastly, commercial, military, private vehicles, and their accessories and components with 0.73%. And in the table, you can also see that by numbers, so that the grand total spend is 9.8 million, roughly.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So to focus a bit on the biggest part of the UNSPSC level 1, which is the travel and food and lodging and entertainment services, which, as I said, takes up about 70.56% of the total spend. We can see that within that level, or we found out that within that level, there are 5 subcategories, out of which the miscellaneous travel takes up the biggest portion in spend. And Marriott International Inclusive is the biggest supplier and accounts for 14.1% of the total spend for travel, food, lodging, and entertainment services. And that makes the company not only the most valuable within that level and subcategory, but also like in total. And here we can see the 5 or the 4 other subcategories that make up the spending on travel, which is air transportation, ground transportation, lodging, meals, and, as I said, miscellaneous travel. And lodging and miscellaneous travel take up the biggest parts, as you can see here in the graph, followed by air transportation, and then ground transportation and meals is the smallest part. Yeah. Luca, do you want to go on with the
slide? Yeah. Miscellaneous travel accounts for about 37% of the total spend on all suppliers for travel. The top 4 suppliers provide about 23% of the money spent on miscellaneous travel, with Central Charters/Tours being the main provider. Lodging accounts for about 32% of the total spend for on suppliers for travel. The top 4 suppliers provide 26% of the money spent on lodging, with Marriott International as being the main supplier, accounting for around 19%. For air transportation, 24%, it's accounted for 24% of the total spend. The top 4 suppliers provide 30% of the money spent on air transportation, with LJ Aviation being the main supplier. The lodging can be split into 3 different categories: in-state lodging, out-of-country lodging, and miscellaneous lodging. In total, there are 213 supplier parents that provide for lodging in and out of the country. The main supplier for in-state as well as out-of-country is Marriott, accounting for around 14% of total spending on lodging. Saving money in the lodging by creating a professional relationship with the biggest suppliers like Marriott International, Intercontinental Hotel Group, and Accor Hotels would save a great amount of money in the lodging spend category.
Okay, so for air transportation, the top 4 suppliers provided about 21% of the money spent on travel. Income from the air transportation industry. Looking at the subcategories combined, we can say the most money spent is on LJ Aviation, which makes the company the most valuable supplier. LJ Aviation accounts for 27% about the total amount spent in that field. However, the other top 3 suppliers, American, Delta, and United, account for 68% in the total spend of air transportation. So some suggestions to like cut down costs. So because LJ Aviation, American Airlines, Delta, and United were all the top four suppliers in our data shown, continuing to build a relationship with LJ Aviation and contributing more and more money to them could hopefully then create a relationship where you could get some sort of deals to make it cheaper for one another and stuff like that. But Delta is also a top airline, and we could see ourselves making a relationship with them to only help in the long run. And by focusing on those two, could cut costs somewhere else where we can use the money for another piece. Am I on this one as well?
Mhm.
Okay. So ground transportation makes up about 5% for total spend on travel. The urban mass transit and removal services are the only 2 suppliers in that category, but the urban mass transit accounts for 85%, which gives the company a relatively high power as a supplier. And you can see that in the graph shown.
For meals, working with Papa John's and Chick-fil-A to create a professional relationship could save money for the subcategory meals. And then focusing on the 2 biggest suppliers can create new opportunities from saving over 5%. And 5% is definitely a big percentage on saving money, especially in the meal industry. And to conclude the presentation, we were able to save money on travel by creating stronger relationships with our suppliers, limiting suppliers, and asking our largest suppliers to prepare for an increase in demand. By building strong relationships and giving our larger suppliers more business, we were able to negotiate better deals and save more money. By cutting out smaller suppliers, we were able to ensure better service while reducing the majority of risk. For smaller categories like meals, it makes sense to look forward more suppliers in order to decrease Papa John's current bargaining power over prices and negotiate better deals, especially because this subcategory does not need specific knowledge or extensive resources to function. Furthermore, the relationship with supplier parents like Marriott Inc., which account for the majority of spend in more than one subcategory, should be improved even more. By showing the most important suppliers our trust and even relocating some of the resources saved in other areas towards them, we could create new contracts, negotiate better deals, and possibly lower prices overall. This would also help in the long run in case potential problems with our suppliers arise. Thank you.